Okay, I don't know where to begin with this, but this is going to be a running series, and I'm going to show you through a number of posts that Canada, Australia, and a number of other countries are already part of the United States. And I think it starts right here. So let's watch this video.
Better believe that he's very much a straight shooter in terms of actions that he's going to take or what he thinks needs to be done. You know, they made fun of him because they assumed he broke protocol and walked in front of the Queen. No, if you go back and look at it, you will see he looked at her. She gave a wave with her hand. He proceeded. She took a couple of steps. He stopped and he waited for her to join. That was an optic to tell us that he then was going to bankrupt the U.S. corporation because it was the Vatican, the Crown, and the U.S. that was part since 1871. And we were giving you our tax dollars. We were paying back. You know, forget this Tea Party and without taxation, without representation. We owed you a lot of money because you helped us in the Civil War. And so that is what Trump has now, he told the Queen, I'm ending this. We're dissolving this corporation. We're going to go back to being a republic and we'll all be separate. The Pope wasn't happy. You should find the picture of him visiting the Pope. It took 650 planes to remove our gold from the Vatican Bank.
I'm not very happy about it, Jan, to be perfectly honest. We could do with your money at the minute. Keep it flowing, I say. Jan Halberhay's really good.
Okay, so anyways, this is back in 23, right? This comes from the executive orders that he signed in 2020. And I don't know why anybody's not talking about this, but this involves so many countries. This is the start of the dominoes. It has already happened. The posts where he put down possession date, December 29th, has already happened. Anyways, I'll give you more stuff as I put this together because there's so much information. This is just the beginning, but there's so much information to show from each and I'm still researching. I am just blown away by what I'm finding. This is not a joke. This has actually already happened and he's just preparing you. Okay. So let's look at Australia. So I ran across this post, and this goes back, I think, 2023 as well. Yep, 23, August 23. You have to go back in the Wayback Machine, guys, and start looking at what was actually happening. All those executive orders that Trump was putting out, he was booming them out, one after another. And I remember reading a lot of them, but made no sense of them. And I think everybody was kind of like that. Why did he do this? Why did he do that? And they were all kind of like, in your head, but they really didn't register until now, until the whole Canada becoming the 51st state. And so many of these posts started making me wanting to look back in the Wayback Machine as to what actually might be happening. So this Trump's executive order, and we're not at Canada right now, we're in Australia. 13818. And so it goes on. In 1975, George Whiteham signed the Lima Agreement and sold Australia to the United Nations. But wait, Australia and Pfizer are listed on the NASA, I guess, and I'm not sure, the NYSE agreement, Donald Trump's executive order. The 13818 seized the NASA. Therefore, by default, he is the owner of Australia. In Chapter 11, City of London, Vatican, Washington, D.C. are bankrupt. Application filed and lawsuit filed. Everything that I'm going to show you has to do with the state of affairs, why our governments have been failing, why they haven't been doing anything for us, why we've been getting the massive migrations. All has to do with this, in retaliation of this. And yeah, okay, let's go on. City of London is bankrupt and a lawsuit filed. You can find out all of this is true, guys. The Act of England in 1871 was repealed, and the Secondary Judiciary Act of 1869 is no longer in force. So you can look at the Balfour Declaration from 1912. This was also repealed. Okay, so look into it. This is what I'm doing. I'm looking into a lot of these things. I'm already finding some truths. I don't know if all of it is, but I do know that a lot of people have done videos on all of these things. Now we're waiting for Judge Thomas to open up a whoop ass from 1776 style. The whole world goes back to the law 1776. The whole world is on the level playing field. Think the revolution of all currencies. The whole world is guided by the price of the pieces of the 1950 and 1955, the chosen years. Okay, so these are the executive orders that you should be going to look at. So all the numbers are there. And you used to be able to leave links on TikTok, but you can't now. So you're going to have to do the same thing, some of the same research. Go back to the Wayback Machine and just start asking questions. I asked the question, Australia is owned by the United States. That's the question. And believe me, and the reason why I asked that was because I already saw posts. And I'll show you those later. So here we go. So now, remember, we used to see all of these kind of pictures that we would see this coming out from him saying executive order. So these, actually, all of this is all about. Here's the Balfour. And this is an interesting one. But again, if you go and find this, this is again one of the executive orders to do with this whole stuff. And that's what I've been doing for a number of days. I'm like, how am I going to put this stuff out? This is just so crazy. There's just so much information to put into just a video. So anyways, we're going to leave it at that. At this point, that's where this is. So you can go and look at all of these different executive orders. So from the governments. So you can go and find out that all of this is true. All of this is true. Or at least it's appearing to be true. And I'm researching in the middle of the night. Okay, so I'm just doing a Google search on this picture because I went into Gosh because I was asking about why does it have so many, how many stars does it have? It told me that it has 83 stars on this flag, right? But they told me this picture was photoshopped, that it was not the original picture. And I tried to get it to give me any a picture of a link of the picture, the original one that was photoshopped. It didn't, so I decided to Google it. So this is the picture that I was talking to. This is the X's are AI, okay? But I'm finding that all of them want to deny this. So let's look and see. Okay, so here, let's see. It's the same picture. It's got the 83 stars on it. And these are where you can find the same picture. Again, this is, here we go. It's got the same picture. So this is a different place. It's just something for you to take a look at. In the background, Ben Johnson on X, he had that with the same picture. Who else has got it today? They cut it off. Notice how they cut it off, but it does go into, you can see that they were cutting off the top row of this, but when they do the, look at this, can you see these? Guys, there's too many to say that this is photoshopped. It's not photoshopped. It's showing me multiple different let's see. I'm going to just go back here. Make sure that's okay. So this is YouTube. You can go back into YouTube, Fox News. And nobody was talking about this. Why were there so many stars on the back of it? But look at all these different places that at New York Times, the New York Times. Okay, so it's not just, this is not Photoshopped. And either that or they're all going into the Photoshop and using the Photoshop. This isn't Photoshopped. Why is there so many stars on it? Well, it might have something to do with this. Let me show you this. Again, we know that, because I'm talking about Australia right now and Canada, there's more than just Greenland and Panama Canal that's going on here, where they talk about the delivery date for this one was December 29th. Look at that, it's already passed. Okay, but look at this map, okay? Now, the new colonies. I would live in Jefferson. And I have tried to get them to scan. I haven't counted. This is too hard for my brain to count that many stars. My brain just keeps saying, I need a ruler and I don't have one. So if you want to count all the stars on the bottom of that, that's on there to see how many that they're showing. But like I said, I'm looking into Australia. It looks like it's really evident that Australia was purchased back in 2020. I think Canada was too, and I think all of this has actually happened, and that's why we're seeing the craziness right now. Now, this may not be an official map. This is just, could be somebody's imagination. Like, who knows? This is all for entertainment purposes. But there is, yeah, look at this. Wishing all Americans happy, safe. So to me, if this is true, that all these countries went bankrupt, as I'm showing you, and I'm going to show you more and more stuff that's showing, we know this. We know all of these countries have been bankrupt. The United States has been bankrupt. Could it be that they've all been acquired by the United States? And that's what I'm finding out. So when they're wishing and saying that once he gets inaugurated, things are going to happen immediately and we will not have the same world as we had before, this is what they're trying to stop. This is why I believe Trudeau is walking around like a man who's enjoying his last steak and lobster dinner, and he's going to relish every bite because he knows the end is coming for him. That's the way I see him. He is living in that sense of, I'm going to live every moment, because you guys have no clue what's really about to happen, whether this is good or bad. Let me show you. Again, this is the picture. And you can go and take a look at this guy here. He's got some pretty interesting stuff about the different bills that and statutes and laws and stuff that Trump actually put in, and how he erased some of them. Yeah, that made all of this possible. This time, they elected somebody that knew business. I'm just saying, new business, new stock, and realized the first 4 years how the government was set up. That's what he did. He went through the old laws and went through the Constitution and had all of his lawyers to do this. I'm just saying. There you go. There's so much to talk to you guys about this. There's so much. Again, remember, this is that NASA, or NYSE, that Trump, during his time, seized. And this had all these other things attached to it. So that's what the war is all about. It's so much bigger than any of us had a clue. Listen to this. This is wild.
What is the value to the United States of Australia's location? Well, the Pacific is really big, and we are a Pacific nation. We have a long border on the.
Anyways, she declared that it was United States of Australia but let's just go to the next one. An American corporation registered in Washington, D.C. on July 1st, 1867 as a judicial state of D.C. And you need to read these older ones to understand what is happening. And this is also one of the crazy parts of that I started to look into, and that's how I started to go to the other places, was looking at NATO, because Trump is telling us all the time that he wants to pull out of NATO, and because he's giving so much more. And I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at what everybody, and I'm trying to find Canada. Oh, here's Canada. 27 billion Canada puts in defense. I think this was supposed to be for 2021. It's been we've actually got 2024s, and it's a little bit more. 2024 puts United States at over $900 billion. Almost $1 trillion that United States is putting in. And the defense hasn't actually gone up, the estimate of, because the other countries, I think it's a little bit more, it's about 1.5 or something like that, 1.5 trillion. That the whole, so in other words, Trump is 2/3 of NATO, or United States is. And Trump is saying that he's getting out of these wars. It's going to happen the first day. Think about all of this. If he pulls out, it's like the house of cards. All of these are going to come tumbling down because they can't hold up all of the crazy stuff that they've been doing. And a lot of these countries have been acquisized. I know I'm saying that wrong, by United States. And it comes in effect the day that he is inaugurated. It's an interesting thing to think about this. So Canada now is sitting beside the United States, and we are putting in 7 billion. Okay, that number I think is about that. It hasn't gone up. And this is what the United States is putting in. And people say that Canada has NATO to protect itself from United States taking over Canada. Okay, I just want those numbers to sink in for you to look at those numbers. They pull out that they are okay. Do I need to say any more? We haven't got a hope in hell, and we would give it up without a fight. President-elect Trump has indicated that he is possible withdrawing the United States from NATO. Okay. And this is, again, was the NATO spending in 2023. Again, doesn't even have Canada. Oh, there's Canada, 28. So we did go up a little bit there. There you go. So anyways, there's way, way more to come. So on the search to find out why Trump keeps on saying Governor of Canada and all of this stuff that everybody's saying is a big old joke, has actually been quite a scary rabbit trail that I've gone into. I ran into this one video from 11 years ago, which is really interesting because it's, I'll put it right here and you can watch it for a little bit.
In 2005, an arrangement between Canada, Mexico, and the United States was made. This arrangement, unannounced to the public, unregulated by Congress, merges the United States, Mexico, and Canada into one entity, erasing all borders. It's called the North American Union. You might want to ask yourself why you've never heard of this. In fact, there is only one mainstream reporter who's actually heard of and has had the courage to cover this issue.
The Bush administration's open borders policy and its decision to ignore the enforcement of this country's immigration laws is part of a broader agenda. President Bush signed a formal agreement that will end the United States as we know it, and he took the step without approval from either the U.S. Congress or the people of the United States.
It's a deal that few have even heard of.
It's being done again by very few people at the very top on behalf of the investment class, but the working class of people, political officials across our country from communities, from cities and so forth, they don't know anything about this.
This isn't some trade agreement. It is a total removal of sovereignty from these countries, which will also result in a completely new currency called the Amero.
Fall. Apart from that, I think one thing people who are dollar-based need to focus on is the Amero. That's the one thing that nobody's talking about that I think is going to have a big impact on everybody's life in Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. The Amero is the proposed new currency for the North American community, which is being developed right now between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico to make a borderless community, much like the EU, and the dollar, Canadian dollar, U.S. dollar, and the Mexican peso replaced by the Amero.
By default of this agreement, the American Constitution will eventually be obsolete. You would think that a situation like this would be on the cover of every major newspaper. That is until you realize that the people who are behind this movement are the same people behind the mainstream media, and you are not told what you're not supposed to know. The North American Union is the same concept as the European Union, the African Union, and the soon-to-be Asian Union, and the same people are behind all of them. And, when the time is right, the North American Union, the European Union, the African Union, and the Asian Union will be merged together, forming the final stages of a plan these men have been working on for over 60 years. A one-world government. One bank, one army, one center of power. And if we have learned anything from history, it is that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is Aaron Russo, a filmmaker and former politician. To his left is Nicholas Rockefeller of the infamous Rockefeller banking and business dynasty. After maintaining a close friendship with Nicholas Rockefeller, Aaron eventually ended the relationship, appalled by what he had learned about the Rockefellers and their ambitions.
I got a call one day from an attorney woman I knew, and she said, "Would you like to meet one of the Rockefellers?" I said, "Sure, I'd love to." And we became friends, and he began to divulge a lot of things to me. So he said to me one night, he said that there's going to be an event there, and out of that event, you're going to see, we're going to go into Afghanistan, so we can run pipelines from the Caspian Sea. We're going to go into Iraq to take the oil and establish a base in the Middle East, and we're going to go into Venezuela and try and get rid of Chavez. And the first two they've accomplished. Chavez they didn't accomplish. And he said you're going to see guys going into caves looking for looking for people that they're never going to find. You know, he was laughing about the fact that you have this war on terror. There's no real enemy. He's talking about how by having this war on terror, you can never win it because it's an eternal war. And so you can always keep taking people's liberties away. And I said, how are you going to convince people that this war is real? He said, but the media. The media can convince everybody it's real. I mean, you know, it's just that you keep talking about things. You keep saying it over and over and over again, and eventually people believe it. You know, you created the Federal Reserve in 1913 through lies. You create 9/11, which is another lie. Through 9/11, you're fighting a war on terror, and now all of a sudden you go into Iraq, which was another lie, and now they're going to do Iran. You know, and it's all one thing leading to another, leading to another, leading to another. Now, I would say, what are you doing this for? What's the point of this thing? You have all the money in the world you ever want. You have all the power. I said, you know, you're hurting people. It's not a good thing. And he would say, what do you care about the people for? Take care of yourself and you take care of your family. And then I said to him, what are the ultimate goals here? He said, the ultimate goal is to get everybody in this world chipped with the RFID chip and have all money be on those chips and everything on those chips. And if anybody wants to protest what we do or violate what we want, we just turn off their chip.
That's right, microchipped.
And So what did you think about that? Like I said, go and take a look at that channel, because nothing has been put in there. It's 9 years old, the last time anything has been put on that channel, and it goes into a lot of that stuff. I know I looked into that before, but your mind gets wandered because there's been so many rabbit trails to go down that I forgot about, the one world government and the whole thing when you think about it. And then I started looking into, or somebody put in my feed about XRP, which I actually have some that I bought about 6 years ago, and they did nothing. So I've got a bit of shares sitting there in XRP, and just like I think 190, nothing that's gonna make me rich or anything, but it has gone up significantly, and they're talking about it going to 10. And then I went down the rabbit trail that XRP is going to be the new American, Canadian, Mexican, the international trade.
Suddenly going to be, literally in the next 24 to 48 hours, XRP is suddenly going to be priced at $317.80. And this is all going to be because both JP Morgan and BlackRock, along with SWIFT, have all agreed to officially begin transacting using XRP on January 3rd, which is less than 48 hours away. On top of this, the ISO 222 messaging system, backed by central banks globally, is also supposed to go live on that date. All of this injecting over $20 trillion directly into the XRP ledger, and likely all into XRP. And as that gets mentioned, we get more and more institutions agreeing that they will use XRP for payments and partnering with Ripple. One of the most recent ones, the Bank of America, which enters an agreement with Ripple Labs to use XRP for payments. Now, let's not forget that XRP was literally trading at and literally priced at, confirmed, in South Korea at $50.17 USD. And this got confirmed.
The standard digital is going to be XRP. So, yeah, and then I started looking into how everything has been changed to the X, right? We've got the X, that's our new news, right? Now, they're talking about he's going to buy NBC and CBC and all of these different broadcast systems that he's talking about buying, because really all of them are bankrupt right now, and they're up for buying. I mean, we think that we own our land, that we have our land, but Canada's up for buying because it's bankrupt. The United States was bankrupt as well. Yeah, you get what I'm saying? And since these are all corporations, they're up for buying. And then in that video talking about the America trade agreement, how they started it, and remember that was 11 years ago. And then it talked about how we were all be surveilled. It goes on to the chip in that video. But of course we know that was 11 years ago, thinking, it's not the chip now. We know what happened, right? We already know what happened. And that a lot of people were magnetized in the beginning. Remember when they used to walk into places and everything would beep off and everything after they had their first and second? And people were showing that they, things that would stay on them, like spoons and stuff. Okay, so there was something that they said that had a nanotechnology that was self-replicating that was put into people. So who knows? This was something that we saw in the beginning, right? So it is getting spooky about this whole United States already owns Canada and Mexico and Australia and New Zealand. And